Hey everybody, in this video I want to show you this car here. This is the car we have for sale. Honda HRV 1.5 petrol in what's called CVT, which is continuous variable transmission. Basically it's an automatic. If there's any information you want about this car or a car like this, please do not hesitate to give me a shout. 086 843 1945. And we are Fitzpatrick's Garage, a family run business in operation for almost 70 years. In this video, what I'd like to do is show you the features that are on the outside of the car and go for a drive in the car and show you some of the clever features on the inside of the car as well. The front of this car has what's called the Honda solid wing face, which is basically that big chrome grille that's on the front. And I really like the headlights that are on these cars now. There's a big daytime running light on the front of the headlight, which looks really cool, but the headlights themselves are a nice LED finish, and even the indicators have a nice LED finish as well, so it gives it a really nice upmarket look. And because it's the S Model N, it also gets front fog lights at the front as well. I like the nice detailing in the bumpers, and then even things like the little splitter in black along through here, which just makes the car a little bit lower to the ground. The wheels in this car then are a 17-inch alloy wheel, and they're what's called diamond cut, so they have a nice shiny reflective finish along here, and then there's this black section as well. As you can see on this one, there's a bit of brake dust built up, but because it's black it doesn't show up as much. This car is actually part of our own fleet, and there will be a little bit of mileage on it when it's for sale, but it will also have a discounted price also. On the rear of the car then, there is a nice LED style tail light in through here. A small little detail I like in the back of them, but there's a really shiny exhaust silencer on the rear of the car, and it just makes it look sporty from the rear. Because it's the S Model N, you'll see on the inside it has a reverse camera, and it's also got rear parking sensors as well as parking sensors on the front. There's a nice little chrome section that just sits above the license plate on the rear, and because it's the S Model N, it actually has tinted windows on the back, and they're nice and dark, and you'll really appreciate that if you have young kids, to stop the sun beating in on top of them. Other nice features on that car then is you can use the key for a couple of little functions. So basically when you lock the car, the actual headlights here will turn themselves off after about 20 seconds once you get out of the car, if they're in the auto function or if you leave the lights on by accident. And the other neat feature as well is when you open up the car, the lights can come back on, and also then you can control the windows by using the key, as well as the wing mirrors too. I think these are a really cool looking SUV, and probably because there's so many common ones on the road now. This is a slightly smaller segment of the SUV market, but you see lots of Sportages and Qashqais and Tucsons and all that kind of stuff, and they're all really good cars. What I like about this is it's something a little bit different as well, and the other thing is it's probably going to suit someone that wants a really good sized boot like what's in the other ones, wants a high driving position, but probably doesn't want something quite as big and bulky. Anyway, let's get on the road and we'll see what the driving impressions are like on this car. When you're driving the car, it's got your trip information down here, so using this button here you can toggle through various bits of information. One cool thing is it actually tells you the current speed zone you're in, so in this case the 60 zone, and you can also set the speed limiter to respect that. So what I mean is when you exceed it coming into a speed zone, it actually warns you audibly and it cuts your power as well. Other things as well after that, there's also the acceleration. It's a 1.5. Some people comment that these CVT gearboxes are very noisy, but let's face it, who floors a car like that? It's brisk, but as you'll see in a while, it actually normally ticks over very low. There's a D and an S mode, which you can toggle through while you're driving. It's really simple and straightforward. The D mode is a more relaxed mode, whereas the S is more aggressive. It's also got these paddle shifters, so regardless of what mode you're in, you can select the gears up and down using the paddles that are on the steering. So they're not technically gears, but basically they're changing the engine revolutions to make it more ready to overtake, or if you need immediate power. The way these gearboxes work, however, is they're going to look for the perfect engine revolutions. So for most people when they're cruising, the engine revolutions are going to be quite low, and it's only when you floor a car really aggressively do you get the increased revolutions that we saw when we were flooring the car. But that is really not normal driving. I think anyone would agree that they wouldn't normally drive a car like that. But look at this, cruising along, this car is taking over way lower than its manual counterpart, and that means in most circumstances it's using less fuel. And it's a really nice cabin, really nice high off the ground feel without being a big bulky car. I think these cars are really for somebody that wants that high driving feel without the cumbersome manoeuvrability of a large SUV. Now that we're back from driving, so let's have a look at things like the boot. So there is a really good boot, I think, especially considering this is the smaller end of the SUV market. So it's a really nice boot, and there's a really excellent level of flexibility in the car. So if you look at that, once I drop the back seats, see how flat it is for people that want to put awkward things in the back of the car, or things like bicycles and stuff like that. And once you're stopped using that, then there's a solid parcel shelf. This is a Japanese built Honda HRV. The previous built ones were in Mexico, and they had a flexible parcel shelf. Some people didn't like it and they wanted this hard one, so then Honda listened, and from 2019 onwards they put the hard parcel shelf in. To access the back of the car then, you got these hidden door handles in through here, And the seats have got some flexibility too, so you can actually recline them backwards. It only looks like a small amount, but it actually makes a difference when you're sitting in the car. And they also have a magic seating function, which means if I lift that and lock it in place, the seat is now held upright, and I can do that on both sides, and it gives you a really tall mode. Again, for anything awkward you want to transport. People sometimes put bikes across, wheelchairs and various other items. In terms of door cards in the back, there's a nice chrome ring around the speakers. There's electrics over here for windows, as you'd expect, and then a child lock in through here. And those windows are going to be child lockable too. One really cool thing about these cars is the legroom is absolutely stupid. It's massive. So I sit in the back, this is the amount of headroom I have. Remember, this is a small SUV. There is way more legroom in here than I would find in something like a Sportage or a Tucson or something like that. This car is surprisingly long. It is narrow, I will grant that. Some of the other cars are wider, but there's an unbelievable amount of legroom in these cars. Which is obviously going to be handy for people that are tall, but actually, do you know what, that's really handy when you have a child seat there and the child's legs are starting to come out over the child seat. 3 head restraints. There is Isofix over here for a child seat, Isofix over there, and an armrest in the centre. Some storage down here with a 12-volt power outlet and a kangaroo pocket in through there. Into the front of the car then, things like electrics for windows and mirrors that you'd expect. Over here then there's an econ function which reduces how aggressive the cruise control and the air conditioner is, and also the throttle position in favour of fuel efficiency. There's a lane change warning to warn us if we drift out of lane, parking sensors front and rear. This is just traction control, and this is to turn the alarm off if you want to leave people in the car, but yet actually have the doors locked. So in terms of the inside then, there is an anti-whiplash head restraint behind me, which means if your head goes backwards in an accident, it doesn't travel as far, reduces whiplash. Side impact protection beams, airbag over here, airbag down here, airbag up there, and that's the same on the passenger side as well, so they're a really safe car. One other neat thing is the lights actually in the rear of the car are a nice LED sort of setup, which I think look really classy, and that's the same as the ones up here in the front as well. On the steering wheel, as we saw when we were driving, there is cruise control over here, a speed limiter, and also a speed limiter that's intelligent, that respects the speed signs. There is automatic wipers, really good spec on this car, automatic headlights, and they dip as well when you meet traffic. And over here then, as we saw when we were driving, there's paddles to go up and down through the gears if you want, but you don't have to. And what I mean by radio is FM, long wave, medium wave, digital radio, CD, USB, smartphone, or Bluetooth, or HDMI connection. One thing I will say, it's a little bit awkward. There's a decent amount of connections. So you have USB, HDMI, another USB, and a 12-volt over here on that side. But it's a little bit awkward where it is. However, there is a little bit of storage down in that tunnel there, and one of the byproducts is you have a higher position where the gear stick is, which is quite nice. In here, there's an armrest with some storage. There's some really deep drinks holders in through there if you want. Little leaf or something that was in there, just in case you're wondering what that was. Automatic handbrake in through here, park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then there's a sport version. Like what we saw already, there's parking sensors front and rear, and there's also a reverse camera to go with that as well. Another cool feature is actually when you go for reverse, your mirror on the left hand side actually dips down, so you can see if there's something awkward that you're reversing around. This radio function will also have a Garmin satellite navigation setup. And after that then, it's all touch and swipe, very straightforward and easy to use, but it's got some really advanced features if you want. I don't think a lot of people will end up using it, but things like an internet browser, calendar, calculator, it's got really everything that a tablet would have. And the heating controls then are dual zone, so at different temperatures on each side of the car, warm or cold on each side, air conditioning, front and rear windscreen demisters, and even things like the wing mirrors also demist when you demist the back window. One thing I like in this car is it's really, really simple. They haven't really gone bananas trying to make things awkward with big screens and stuff like that. Same as the engine, it's a straightforward petrol engine. And actually I like that. There's cars that have gotten very complex lately, and I think sometimes cars have gotten more complex than the ability of the manufacturers to make it easy to look after them for people. So this is a simple, straightforward car, and that's what I like about it. So there you have it. That is a 2021 Honda HRV ES model 1.5 automatic. If there's any information you want on the car, 086 843 1945. Brian is my name, Fitzpatrick's Garage, Kildare town. And I would be happy to talk to you about financing the car, about warranty, about any information you want on the car, or trading in your own car. So hopefully this car is of interest. Hopefully the video has been useful. If you're watching on YouTube and I've missed anything, let me know in the comment section and I'll address your question. Or if you're in Ireland and you want to know about the car, just give me a call. Thanks a million for taking time to watch.